Welcome in to Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears network production. Download the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon, to follow the team on the go. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, Bet Rivers, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
Mandatory veteran minicamp opens tomorrow afternoon at Hallis Hall, one of the final steps in a busy offseason for the Chicago Bears. And we discuss tonight here on Bears Weekly. Jeff Joniak with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, and from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, we have the former Bears quarterback Jim Miller. Thanks to our producers Dan Barilli and Jordan Tredup, and in the ESPN studios this evening, Sean Graney. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Coming up, conversation with Bears special teams coordinator Richard Hightower as the Bears gear up for the new kick return rules here in 2024. We'll also talk defensive line with Travis Smith, the Bears veteran defensive line coach. We'll get into that as well. Talk about some of the young players that could and should emerge here in their second years with the Bears. Guys, how we feeling? Can't wait to see the entire crew back together Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday up at Hallis Hall, Tommy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me, you, and Jim.
Well, you know, Jim's in Michigan.
You're right, Jeff. You know, I'm really interested to see a snapshot of everybody in their place. And that's including Montez Sweat along with the defensive line, Nate Davis with the offensive line. That's the running back position in place, the receiver position in place. I would like to see a few days of work with everybody with hopefully is going to be in that place week one against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think, we know they're not in pads right now, but you want to run a tight ship, right? It's about, the team coming together, getting a continuity, young quarterback working with the other 10 veterans that are there with him, along with Roma Dunze, who's going to be put in there. You want some sharpness with the minicamp, where you come away from this vet minicamp feeling pretty good about where the team's at with all the installs. Guys need to know where to line up. Guys got to start showing the technique. We know you really can't evaluate the power side of football because there's no pads on. So you'd really want to run a tight ship where everybody is assignment-driven in a veteran minicamp.
Yeah. One thing about it is, if you really look at this roster right now, there's really one position that's battling, and that's the center position. If you look at every other single position out there, everybody should be in their place. And you're talking about DeMarcus Walker at defensive end, Javon Dexter Sr. at the three technique defensive tackle, obviously Montez Sweat and Billings, and backed up by other guys. But you know what the linebacker position is. You know what the defensive back position is, the tackle, the guards, the running backs, the receivers. So when is the last time that the three of us have been going into a mini camp and thinking, okay, almost every position could possibly be decided on outside the center competition?
2006? Super Bowl year? I mean, honestly, that is a heck of a point by you. I mean, you're right. Everybody's in place.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I agree with that. I think there is a battle at center with Coleman Shelton, and obviously Ryan Bates. And there's a few spots. Obviously, if injuries start to happen during training camp, you'll see some guys competing, because I do think there's some backup positions that guys will be able to battle, if they have to earn some playing time. But overall, this roster overall, the last 2 years has been upgraded significantly by Ryan Poles.
NFL.com did something recently. They picked one player from each team, fellas, that was the most overlooked player. Do you have any idea on the Bears roster who that might have been? Maybe you guys saw it, so maybe I'm not surprising you. Who is it? From their opinion.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, for me, it'd be Kyler Gordon, because to me, he's going to be significant from the nickel spot. He missed some games last year. He's got blitz ability. He's a good ball hawk. He's a guy that can really, that's why they gave him the nickname Spider-Man, because he's a very savvy player. And for me, I think it's Kyler Gordon. Your nickel position, especially in pro football now, is actually a starter, because a lot of teams are running 11 personnel. So for me, that overlooked player would be Kyler Gordon.
I would go Tyreek Stevenson, because, the reputation that Jalen Johnson is coming in with this year and all the positive things that have been said about him, with the awarding of a new contract. And, okay, if they're not going to go to Jalen, is Tariq Stevenson going to bring his game to another level, or is he going to be a guy that's targeted as often as possible? Because Kyler Gordon in and out of the field, depending upon, as the defensive, Jim said, the defensive personnel matching up, Tariq Stevenson will stay on the field the whole game.
Well, their answer was running back Roschon Johnson.
Wow.
5 games of 50-plus yards from scrimmage last year. Some big, powerful runs, as you know. He ran over some people, was good in blitz pickup, played special teams. But they're looking at it, guys, Jimmy, Tom, from a DeAndre Swift perspective, because, yes, he had a great year last year in Philadelphia. We're not even talking about Khalil Herbert anymore. I don't believe he's going anywhere. I mean, I think they are really well slotted at the running back position. Travis Homer is in that group because of special teams as well. And, of course, you get Blasingame. But Roschon Johnson entering year 2, I'm not going to fall asleep on what he can bring to the table. And, yes, he's got some grit to him. I like the way he played last year, and I like what he put on the table at training camp. He was a pick that the Bears are very happy to get when they did, and just a great overall person and a great overall teammate.
Still the best blocker amongst all the running backs, and I'm not ashamed to say that because it is a trait that's difficult to find of these running backs that are coming out of college. So I would be super confident if I had a blitz pickup against a team that brought it as often as some teams do, and Roschon being in the backfield for me at that moment.
I remember Ryan Poles talking about that was his favorite player in the draft, and they were able to pluck Roschon in the 4th round. I thought every time he entered the game, when he had opportunities, he provided a spark. There's a little bit of a juice to him. Unfortunately, he missed a couple games. He got a concussion, had to sit there, but I think the Bears have a nice backfield of a complementary running backs that can all fill in and do a good job. And who knows? We'll see if they can lead the league in rushing again, because I think all 4 backs are really good complements to one another and will get positive yards.
Which leads me into this conversation, what the run-pass percentage might be under Shane Waldron and with this rookie quarterback and so many offensive weapons. I know Ryan Poles has said, hey, they still want to run the football, and like you said, they've done a nice job running the football the last couple of years. Obviously, a running quarterback in Justin Fields, those kind of numbers should not be expected from Caleb Williams, though he can run and can run out of trouble, and he can run fast. But he doesn't want to do that. He wants to work from the pocket, in and around the pocket. So what would be a worthy run-pass ratio percentage, Tom and Jim, say for the first 8 games of the season and the last 9 games of the season? Would you like to see it like we always want it, or are we going to let this horse ride here a little bit and put the ball in the air a lot more? We'll start with Jimmy.
I think you want it run heavy early, through the first 9 games, whether it's 60-40 run to pass. And then towards the second half of the year, say the first 9 weeks, if you are a 60% run team, it'll set up the play action pass. They can go more 12 personnel. And then by week 9, they should be able to start transition where it can be, 50-50, and then maybe towards the end of the year, 60-40 when it's passing compared to the running. Would be my take. Because I would think at that point, Caleb Williams should be able to do more from that standpoint, where they'll trust him more in 3rd and long situations or 3rd and medium situations or 3rd and short, where they can trust him to throw, get a first down, rather than pounding it up in there. And sometimes where teams are stacking the box, and they should be able to move the ball more better, I should say, through the air towards the latter part of the season, once he gets that base of the offense underneath him and he feels a lot more comfortable.
You know me, I'm an 80-20 type of guy. Run the pass. But I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious when I say that. Because of the personnel that the Bears can offer you, I'm going to do it all based on evaluation of vulnerabilities of my opponent. If I'm playing a team that doesn't have a very good pass rush, I'm going to allow Caleb to throw the ball a little bit more and trust my protection. If I have a team that doesn't stop the run very well, then I'm going to have a running game, and Chris Morgan and his offensive line and the running game coordinator take advantage of the defense accordingly. So it is going to be a lot of depending upon your scouting to see what the deficiencies of your opponent is.
Well, last year the Bears second in the NFL in a rush percentage at 48.7, with San Francisco trailing 50.3%. Baltimore, the league leader, so the pass percentage for the Bears and 49ers, 51.3%. That, by definition, is a balanced attack, run, pass. All right, when we come back, we'll hear from Bears defensive line coach Travis Smith in the media session last week up at Hadassah as we get ready for minicamp starting tomorrow here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. The assistants gather each week, defensive one week, offensive another week throughout the season, and it includes this off-season program right now leading up to veteran minicamp. And last week, it was the defensive coaches had a chance to visit with other media members, with Travis Smith hitting all things defensive line, including Dexter Sr. and Pickens, the two picks from a year ago. A lot of discussion about those two guys. And third-year pro Dominique Robinson. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, so he's done a phenomenal job. Like, if you look at the offseason where guys leave and now where they've shown up, he's one guy that sticks out for sure that's changed his body. His body fat stayed the same, but his lean mass has gone up, and so he's definitely filled out, gotten stronger, has more mass to him, more anchor, more strength. So it's exciting to see him flying around now.
Does that allow him to move inside maybe more?
We haven't messed too much with that. Obviously, there might be a couple situations where between whoever he's in there with, he might flip sides where he can be in there in rush situations. But more, it's really he's just trying to keep developing to be the best DN he can be right now.
So I spent time with Booker last week. What's the first step for him?
First step right here is just making sure that he knows where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, and know what to do. Because the bottom line, all those other attributes, all the other abilities that you have, if you don't know what to do, you're going to have a hard time. And so that's one thing that we're just working on every day, making sure that we eliminate mistakes. And if there's a mistake, we don't repeat mistakes.
It's oftentimes with rookie edge rushers, they say, oh, it doesn't matter. Just they go get the quarterback. It's as simple as that. But you just outlined it's not as simple as that.
There's no question. It's not as simple as that. There's a lot that goes into it. It'd be one thing if it's just, hey, stopping the run and rushing the passer. But with us playing a four-man front, there's a ton of detail that goes into that. And my job as a coach is to make sure I eliminate all the grid but allow them to play as fast and as physical as they can.
Were Dexter and Zach able to, I just discussed with Dominique, to add to their body without the worry about combine last year, getting ready for your four? Are they a different body type too?
They both. When they showed where they left at the end of last season, where they've shown up, they've improved immensely, physically wise. And I think as you guys are out there too, you can see them for two big men. They can run now, both of them. And they both, the numbers that we saw, they've really done a good job of taking the offseason, not taking it off, making sure they're improving, they're physically. We're really happy where they are right now.
Travis, you guys are expecting a lot of Gervon this year. How have you seen his mentality maybe shift coming back in, understanding that you guys need more out of him this year?
Absolutely. I think he's taken as a challenge individually from himself, but also from our organization too, that he has a lot of pride in what he's doing on the field, and he wants to make sure that he has goals and aspirations. There's a lot of things that are on his mind, but he knows it's one step at a time. And so the first step was where he could not come back in the same that he was when he left this last season, and where he's shown up now, he's taken step one. He's done a great job, and now we're 6 OTAs in, where he was OTA 1. I think today even you saw him show up a little bit in the rush standpoint, where he's doing a great job, taking little small steps every day. So I'm excited about that.
Where has his rush improved the most? I mean, what you can tell without being in pads.
I think, right now, if you look with us not in pads, there's really no power element to the rush. There's no games to the rush. So everything that we concentrate now is one-on-one rush ability, one-on-one win ability, working speed, edges, hand speed, getting hands off, not staying blocked. So the whole group is really taking a good ownership with that to make sure we talk about finishing every play unblocked, not just at the line of scrimmage, on their side of the line of scrimmage, making sure the quarterback can't throw the ball, feels disrupted. We got to speed up his heartbeat. And so where he's improved, I think because he's a big, powerful man, but he can't play with power right now. And so it forced him, it's like tying one hand behind your back, now go play. But I think it's going to make him, it makes this time of the year makes all the guys better because it forces them to be a little bit uncomfortable and do some things that some guys might not do as much.
Were you with the Raiders when they did Hard Knocks?
I was.
What was that experience like?
I mean, it's really not as much as you think it is. There's every once in a while there'll be a boom in your drill and you look at what the heck is that. But other than that, they do a good job of kind of staying out of the way. And then in the meeting rooms, it's all automated cameras, and so they're the ones that are manually. One guy controls all of them, really. So it really isn't. I think it's a great opportunity for us as a team, as organization, just to kind of show who the Chicago Bears are, our culture, and just being a part of it that year. Even with the situation that was going on that year, really it wasn't. It's still football. It's still training camp. It's still we're trying to get ready for the season. Yeah, I'm pretty. From what I remember, Coach Gruden and Mike Mayock had full control of what was released and what wasn't released, because there was situations that year, if you remember, with a certain receiver that you guys saw a little bit. So I'm not in those conversations, but I'm pretty sure the organization has control over what's put out and what's not put out.
Do you forget at times because you're absorbed in your coaching that everything's live with Mike? I mean, or do you just? Me personally,
I'm sure people are different. Me personally, there's so much stuff we have going on a daily basis, and you got to think it's myself and Coach Bing, my assistant, with 15 guys that not only we're trying to make sure know what to do, know how to do it, and we're splitting up multiple drills. You really don't think about it. Now, if they put a mic on you, you're going to forget about that in 2 seconds. So, you got to be careful what you say too, a little bit like that. But they're out of the way enough where you don't even recognize it. I think that's how I felt. Yeah.
Is there anything about Booker's game that you've seen in person that maybe didn't show up and doesn't show up on tape? Is there anything that you particularly like that you can only really see by being up close?
I don't know if there's anything that I'm seeing now that I didn't see on tape, but I think the good thing is that things that we saw on tape that we were attracted to, we're seeing on the field right now. Some of the unorthodox movements, some of the difficulty to block with his ability to kind of slip and slide and get on an edge and beat with an inside move. You're seeing some of those things that you saw him do in college at Kansas that he's doing in practice now. He does have a high motor. He does play with good effort. He's got a long way to go, though, from an improvement from conditioning, from a physicality standpoint, from getting the system in. The rookies are obviously behind because they showed up, 2 weeks late. But we're doing, Coach Bing, myself, are spending extra time where we're allotted in the schedule where we get time in the afternoon to meet with them and try to make sure they're getting caught up fully, ready to roll here for the minicamp and then when they get back for training camp.
That this defense as a whole could take a fairly big step. Does that make it any easier for him, for Booker, to find spots, down distance-wise, whatever, situationally, to make plays that he can't just because he's a really good athlete?
I think so, for sure. And I think what's helping him, too, right now, too, is with the guys that are in the group or in the room, are really where he's kind of trying to absorb everything he can because there's guys that aren't holding information back on him. People, it's not just myself and Coach Bing coaching the room. We got some good veterans in there too that when they see something, often they're pulling them aside and either stopping something right when it happens or helping them, giving them a little knowledge with the situational knowledge where they're talking to a pre-snap. So something he's just worried about playing 5 technique. They give him hooty-hoo, the down distance. Hey, he went to 2nd and 12 after a TFL, or hey, he's alerted more to the pass situations. Those type of things are helping the young guys out.
We don't talk too much about the veteran free agents that were added. They may not be big-name pass rushers or whatever, but are you feeling good about where that unit is in terms of having a couple of waves of guys that can get to the quarterback?
The thing I love right now with the new guys and even the guys that are coming back, there's not one guy in the room that is not competing their tail off relentlessly every snap. And it's not just the teamwork. If you were able to walk, I know you guys are far away, but our individuals, they're working unlike any group I've ever seen work where it's constant. Whether we have a 20-minute individual, 30-minute individual, it doesn't matter. They're all competing to improve. There's not one guy that's allergic to work. There's not one guy that's looking for an easy way out. And so when I look at that, where the new guys that have come in here, some new guys that are vets, all of a sudden you start working like that, they're, whoa, it's not how D-line will work. They don't want to do that. Or we don't have that problem right now, so that's a good problem to not have. So I'm excited about where it's trending.
With Zach, he had a in college, he was very good get-off pass rusher. He didn't have a great pass rush impact last year. You guys haven't noticed mainly. What does he need to do to kind of unlock that pass rush ability that's obviously inside him?
I think just what we talk about all the time is trust. You got to trust your ability, but you got to eliminate overthinking. And two, when you eliminate everything, if you just know your alignment, your assignment, that's going to tell you. And that guy across from you is not going to lie to you. That guy, whatever that key is, if you start looking in the backfield, you got problems. But if you're looking at that guy across from you, he's telling you to run a pass, and you just get off on the ball like you were talking about he did in college, that he's able to do, everything else is going to be easier. He's going to impact the game more. I don't care run or pass, because it's not always perfect up front. It's a physical game, but it's not always going to be clean cut. But as long as he's on their sideline of scrimmage, playing with his hands, knocking guys back, throwing guys around, and we talk about that with the whole group, that he's going to end up affecting the play in a good way that's going to help him or someone else in the front or in the back seven.
All right, guys, I was uniquely interested in visiting with him because, first of all, I started, as you heard, with the body transformation, so to speak, of Dominique Robinson. He, to me, looks a lot bigger, and he confirmed that for me. And, he can be used inside, kick inside as well. Still trying to find his toolbox, I guess, as a pass rusher. They're not giving up on him. But then what we're hearing about Javon Dexter Sr. and Zach Pickens, Tom, if anybody on the entire team, the development of those two gentlemen at defensive tackle, and if Dominique Robinson can find a way to get his mojo working as well, another rusher to put on the outside with DeMarcus and also with the rookie Austin Booker, that would be a huge development.
Listen, if you got as many snaps as you needed out of the combination of Billings and Zach Pickens on the nose, and every one of them were fresh, 100% efforted snaps, it really does a lot to be destructive on the interior of the offensive line. Number two is Javon Dexter Sr. is a big man. When I look at him standing out there at practice, he stands a head and shoulders above everybody else. He's got the length that is a real asset in the way he uses it.
Yeah, for their defensive line, I think those are where the battles are. Who is going to be that third pass rusher behind Martez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker? Is it going to be Jacob Martin? Can Dominique Robinson step up? The development of young Austin Booker, who's just getting his feet wet right now. Khalid Kareem, who's obviously a veteran. I think that's where really the camp battles are going to be, because you're going to need a third pass rusher at some time to rotate in there to keep guys fresh. Which guy is going to step up and going to be able to really fill that role?
All right, when we come back, we'll be joined by Richard Hightower, the Bears special teams coordinator, as we talk kick return and much more on special teams with Jim Miller and Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. This is ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by CDW. People to get it. Richard Hightower, the Bears special teams coordinator, uniquely involved with the new change in kick return rules this year, along with several other members of the special teams coordinator community in the National Football League, as they have got basically a reinvigorated role because they're not just setting up returns and coverages. They're going to be making plays as we listen in to our interview with the Bears special teams coordinator.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. I would say it's going to be exciting because every time the ball is kicked off, there's an opportunity for play. Where in the past there's been a touchback, it's been a dead play. Yeah. You could take a break. This time it may go to the house. It may be a big hit inside the 20. So you gotta see what it's going to do for your offense or defense.
Has this reinvigorated your coaching career? Because it's a play. It's going to be design. It's matchups. It's timing. It's spacing. Not that any of that wasn't before, but I would think return right, return left, return middle, it's a whole different thing now. It's a design play, right?
Yeah, a design play, and I think it's going to reinvigorate the careers of more than anything, more than the players, because now you're going to have to look at keeping a certain roster construction based on the plays that these guys are going to be contributing to the game. So it's really exciting, and it's really going to be a schematic battle.
You're a guy that loves going to work every day. Does this even put a little extra pep in your step now? Because it is drawing on all of your football coaching aspects, offense, defense, and special teams.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, and it's lit a fire under players, too, because they come in wide-eyed and bushy-tailed with more questions, and they're excited. So it's been awesome because we're all students of the game, and it's just stimulating our minds more and more. So, and I want to give them every opportunity to be successful and be great. So I've talk to XFL coaches, talk to different coaches that have done this scheme or coached this scheme. I mean, this type of play. So, again, I want to give them the best chance to be successful. So we've done our research on it, and the players have seemed to really like that. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's caught their attention too. In the same way, like this is going to be an exciting thing. And what have these coaches and what have you drawn from what they've explained about what this is all about now?
Yeah, the main draw from it is that the play is happening really fast.
Yeah.
So whereas you would have time in the past to kind of read and react, and you better be right, or it could pop to the house, or it could be I slip a block and make a tackle back there and inside the 20-yard line and set my defense up. So really the speed of the play and how fast it happens.
So is there anything that you have already trial and errored with that say, oh, I really didn't think about that while it's happening? I mean, for me, just watching, again, this is not training camp, pads aren't on yet, but the speed by which from the 40, they're already, even though they can't move until the ball hits something or somebody, they're pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's not a lot of time.
Yeah, no, you're watching it right, because we actually experimented with it with the rookies, and like I just said, a moment ago, the rookies they're trying to find a bathroom. They're trying to find a bathroom. They didn't know what the heck was going on when we did it with the veterans. Now it happens so much faster. Mm-hmm. Because they're obviously more experienced players and they're faster. But, some of those rookies in the tryout guys we had, it shocked me how much faster it happened with the veterans.
Yeah, for sure. There's no time. Tom and I have this thing. If you think, you're beat. There's no time.
You're beat.
No time for thinking. So also thinking big picture, because when I'm talking to these groups, I said, mark my words. Some play's going to win a game on kickoff. And fans are going to be going, oh, what a great job, what a great job. And around the league, some play is going to backfire. It's going to cost a team a game. This is the uniqueness of this, in my opinion. It could be a dirty ball that bouncing around and it gets, fumbled, or whatever the case may be, or something really ingenious. And you're going to be talking about it on Monday morning. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. And I would say, it's always been that. But not as much for the kickoff and kickoff return now. Mm-hmm. And now it's back in.
Yeah, for sure. Also, a variety of different types of players. Much like the tush-push, we're a copycat league. Do you sense that all eyeballs, your staff, guys that work on that stuff, the assistants that are multidimensional, not just a certain position, they'll be scanning the tape, catalog, and watching what works?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, with this new staff, it's funny you bring that up, but with the new staff on offense, Shane has been dialed in to this, and he just thinks it's so interesting. Like
it is.
Yeah, him, Chad Morton, those guys have actually been. So what do you think is going to happen here, and what do you think, and have you thought about this? And we just talk football, whether it's offense or special teams. So those guys have been really cool and good to get to know.
Yeah, honestly, and this is for your benefit, a man who wants to be an NFL head coach one day. You're actually playing offensive coordinator, you're playing defensive coordinator, and special teams coordinator. Not that you hadn't before, but this is a different level. Yeah. Do you think this enhances special teams coordinators' abilities even in the future to be more marketable for jobs?
Well, I sure hope so. Yeah. Like in the past, I've always thought that, and we've talked about this before, you've been – as a special teams coordinator, the only guy that deals with so much of the whole roster, like the head coach, and mixing, matching, and dealing with the whole team and roster decision and personnel and game management and all those different things. So I think it can only help. So I sure hope so because there are a lot of good special teams coordinators.
All right. When we look back at this, if it sticks, no more fair catches, hopefully minimal touchbacks. There's going to be strategy involved. It's going to be a chess match. Late game, I'm really interested in. Are you willing to give them the 30? I mean, Are you willing, or do you just want to really pin them in deep and let your defense in a home game go wild, get the crowd behind you, get them backed up? That's a part of this. But also, do you feel honored and humbled that you are part of the group that changed the rule? you gave your input, and this will one day, hey, if this sticks, you're in this group of special teams coaches that had a say in this.
I never really thought about it that way, but I got to be honest with you, I just got chills when you asked me that question.
It's true.
Because, it's something I'm definitely proud and honored to be a part of. And I'm proud that, we included all the other special teams coaches as well, but to be selected to be on a working group with Darren Rizzi and John Fossil to learn and meet with the competition committee and meet with the owners and meet with the league office. It's something that I don't take for granted. I'm extremely grateful for it.
And how beautiful is it? The symmetry of Devin Hester going to the Hall of Fame during a period of which, special teams, kick returns were basically engineered out of the plan. But to celebrate his success, his history, to hit it back in there in a different way.
Yeah, I'm so fired up for him. It's just awesome that the rule happened and he's going in the Hall this year. And to cap it all off, we get a chance to play in the Hall of Fame game as well. So it's just been right now it's a match made in heaven. I can't wait to see him go in the Hall.
All right, lastly, let you go. How's the unit? 3, 2, 1. How's the unit looking? You got a lot of variety, young, veteran, you name it, different positions. How's it looking?
Yeah, it's improving every day. Got a lot of young talent, which Ryan and those guys in personnel, Ian and Jeff and all those guys have done a heck of a job assembling pieces to work with. So it's coming along, and we're just improving every day. But the veterans are leading the youngsters right now, and it's been exciting. It really has. So we just got to keep putting in the work, one foot in front of the other, and hopefully put a hell of a product out there Chicago fans can be proud of.
Enjoyed it, and have fun with it.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you.
All right, Jim and Tom, what strikes you about that from him? I like the fact that Shane Waldron's even like, hey, I guarantee you, some of these offensive coaches, maybe even the defense, they're going to draw plays up and say, hey, why don't you give this a look? Let's see what happens, right, Tommy?
Well, you think of historically throughout the NFL and the life of the NFL, how some of these coaches like Marv Levy and stuff would have taken this challenge and spent an entire offseason at the drawing board trying to figure out angles and how to, create actual return blocking plays that they've never done in the history of the game. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting elements of this the beginning of this season, throughout the preseason and into the regular season. And like you asked them, it's going to have some game-changing effects at the end or during the course of the game. And I think it's going to be super exciting to watch from the Hall of Fame game to the end of the year.
Yeah, I think you see teams that legitimately now are investing assets through the draft and free agency because of this new kickoff return rule. Go back, many Bears fans, they know Cordarrelle Patterson and how deadly he is in the return game. What did Pittsburgh Steelers do as soon as that rule was passed? They signed Cordarrelle Patterson. And for me, probably the youngest or probably the best way to incorporate a young player, say like a Rome Odunze, is as a kick or a punt returner, where they can have a big impact. And Odunze does have punt return ability and kick return ability. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs did as soon as they drafted Tyreek Hill. That's how he really burst onto the scene for the Kansas City Chiefs. So teams have had to now invest assets in kick returners and guys up front that will be battling in hand-to-hand combat. Say like tight ends and things like that will probably be a bigger body that's out there on kickoff coverage because it's becoming more of a hand-to-hand combat play. It's going to be interesting how it plays out all year long, but fans should love it because what once was really an inconsequential play because everybody was just kicking it through the end zone for a touchback, you're going to see a legitimate kickoff returns, and now it's legitimized this play again, and I'm glad they put the foot back in football.
I love this man's passion. I like when he gets fired up. That's Jim Miller. Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Back with more after this on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
Calling all Well, Bears fans want unforgettable access to see the Chicago Bears play at Soldier Field this season? Well, VIP official ticket package is now available for every home game. Unlock access to exclusive ticket packages that may include entry to in-stadium hospitality lounges, pregame sideline credentials, and the Chicago City Pass. Visit ChicagoBearsVIP.com or call 866-202-5755 for more info. Again, that's ChicagoBearsVIP.com or call 866-202-5755. Don't miss this exclusive opportunity with Chicago Bears VIP. Jim Miller, Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak with you on Bears Weekly. Always get some bold thoughts from Tom Thayer in advance of the show. And Tom, you have some pretty keen insight on the little bit you've seen so far of what the offseason program has looked like from a passing game perspective with this rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams, and his new cachet of weaponry. What are your thoughts?
They're a better passing team right now than they finished the season last year. I think the timing of Caleb, whether it's zone coverage or man-to-man, his ability to put the ball in a position where it's super difficult for the coverages by the defensive backs. There are times that he doesn't want to throw the ball and he's willing to hold it and then throw it out of bounds before he gets to the line of scrimmage instead of taking a sack or looking to run downfield. Those are types of the growing process of a quarterback. But what I see right now in 7-on-7 and in teamworks of this passing offense, Caleb is going to be such an exciting quarterback to watch with this personnel that he has to work with. But his efficiency, long passes downfield like we always used to see, Aaron Rodgers and stuff. Let's call a man-on-man coverage 25 yards downfield and try to invite pass interference. That's the type of accuracy he has downfield. The different windows that he understands in zone coverage, he knows how to take advantage of them. When it is man coverage, he knows how to put the ball in position where the receiver is going to be the first guy to touch it. So after you see from the day one of him getting here to the last practice of last week, his improvement, his recognition, his understanding of the terminology, the little discussions he has behind the line of scrimmage in between plays, it's impressive, and I think it's something that Jim Miller, a quarterback like that, we should all be excited about.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he gets the benefit of being in a Lincoln Riley system. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes that was in that system, whether it's somebody like Baker Mayfield or even Kyler Murray. I think the passing concepts. There's a lot of carryover to the NFL in terms of the pro passing schemes that Lincoln Riley. So he's been exposed to a lot the last few years at USC, being in that system, and I think it helps him. From the timing and rhythm and all the things that Tom is talking about. So he's got a lot of reps in it, and I think that'll continue to improve. He's still going to have his bumps along the way. There's no doubt about that. You don't want him to carry the load in terms of passing, but I think the Bears will be, basically a 50% run to passing team where he's not carrying that whole load. So that's what they planned for him, and he's not going to have to do it all himself.
Who makes who better here? I mean, I know the answer. It's both, but who makes who better? The DBs that are already zooming around, flying around, and they have a lot of chemistry on the back end, or Caleb?
I think the defensive backs will make him better because I think we all know the windows are a lot smaller in the NFL. Probably the best thing I ever did where I learned a lot, we used to scrimmage the Washington Redskins every year at training camp when I was with the Steelers. Guess what? I was up there with the ones going against Darryl Green. He's obviously one of the best in the league. And, I learned to get the ball out, and those windows are small. And so I think the Bears, because they have a really good secondary, that's going to benefit a young Caleb Williams of how to throw into tight windows.
I think we're super fortunate to have Eric Washington called it the best back seven that he's coached so far, and to have great receivers in their future, because I think both of these guys are making each other better. And that's one thing about the continuous development of Caleb Williams to work with this group of talent. They're going to be able to make the defensive back better as much as the defensive backs can make the whole offense better. So I think it's a great combination that these guys are going to have a chance to work against this week in mandatory minicamp, going forward to training camp. and then when they have joint practices as well.
Yeah, I think there's going to be wins and losses on each side, especially at training camp. But I think it's a great question, a great topic. Certainly the DBs against Caleb or Caleb against the DBs. I saw a Pro Football Focus post Sunday on Patrick Mahomes. Quote, good luck taking Patrick Mahomes down. Sacks allowed since 2018 annually. 26, 25, 24, 28, 26, 28, which was the second fewest number in the NFL last season. All were top 5 seasons in fewest sacks. Is that him and his unique ability to escape and get rid of the football, or late in the down to get rid of the football, be smart about it, and a combination of his offensive line? And is this kind of a template you'd love to see for Caleb Williams, especially early in his career? Because Patrick is not seeing ghosts. He is he's avoiding the rush at an elite rate.
Well, the last 2 years, when you look at the Bears, with Justin Fields, way too many sacks. And that doesn't, when you get sacked, it doesn't allow you to stay on schedule. And I think that's where Patrick Mahomes has really grown as a quarterback. You list those numbers, Jeff, those are terrific numbers. If you're under 30 sacks in a season, that's where you want to be. And I just think it's him playing a lot smarter. Yeah, he'll take off when he needs to, but it's normally in the postseason. If you watch him during the regular season, he's staying on schedule. It's not till the postseason, like in that game against Miami in that frigid cold, where he took off and remember his helmet exploded, and where he's conscious of, I got to make some plays with my legs and get some first downs. But during the regular season, it's all about staying on schedule, and that's where Patrick Mahomes is terrific at, and hopefully Caleb Williams will identify that as well, where he's trying to stay on schedule. I would expect it to be better in the second half of the season once he gets his feet or his sea legs underneath him and really starts to feel, how it needs to unfold for him to do that.
Jeff, in your interview with Eric Washington, he said one of his great quotes was, bonding builds trust. And I think the more that Caleb gets to trust his receivers and his offensive players, and he understands that they're going to be in the exact position he expects out of them, then you're going to see that special kind of arm talent on display, the decision-making process, the ability to maybe throw a guy open that looks covered. Or you look at some of those trust passes that Travis Kelce gets just because they've developed that bonding relationship. So I think that's one of the things that can benefit a guy like Caleb, is the more that he can trust every one of these guys, the more of those unique passes you're going to see.
Only 3 teams gave up 30 or less sacks last year. Jordan Love and the Packers at 30, 28 for KC, and 24 for the Buffalo Bills. Fewest sacks in the NFL. So, yeah, we'd love to be under 30. Apparently tough to do, though, in today's NFL. And if you're the New York Giants, giving up 85, head for the hills. Tom, 85.
Tommy Cutlets.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, between Daniel Jones and Tommy Cutlets, they struggled. Part of it was their offensive line, but a young, inexperienced Tommy DeVito in there for once Daniel Jones got hurt. That didn't help either.
Tom, I feel for you, because you're probably having daytime sweats on that one already, thinking who can survive 85 sacks.
It makes me think, what's the most in the history of the NFL during a 16-game season, because 17 games has only been around a couple of years. Is that the most ever in the history of the NFL? And oh my gosh, how can the offensive line coach still have a job, and how can the offensive lineman not be all competed against for their job? I know they have one solid offensive tackle, but oh my God, 85 sacks.
Yeah, well, I just went back about 10 years. I don't. There's nothing even close to that. So no. All right, we'll take a break and you can gather your breath. That's Tom Thayer, Jim Miller. Our final thoughts after this on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy. Jeff and Tom and Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. A couple of national nuggets. First of all, the Bears will fly the most estimated miles of any Bears team in history. 19,470. eclipsing a record that was set in 2011, according to Stats Inc. That's the London trips in there. We got to go to San Francisco. So it's not a shocker, but, do you factor that in at all? Does that matter, or is that just fun conversation?
Fun conversation. I mean, what is it? Houston, Arizona, San Francisco,
right.
The London trip. But then you got to take into account division games: Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay. You're in the air for 20 minutes, so it's no big deal.
I really don't care if they had to fly to Mexico City and play in a parking lot. It doesn't matter. Get your mind right to play football.
All right, let's get your mind right on the wide receivers. Justin Jefferson gets his bag. He gets his bag, sets a new bar, $35 million annually. The Vikings get it done for a premier weapon, but the records are changing monthly, and now the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL is Justin Jefferson at wide receiver. How high can the bar go, Jim?
Well, next up is going to be Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb. And certainly Brandon Ayuk wants to be paid, and there has to be a market correction, in my opinion, at this position at some point. I mean, there's 5 teams that are paying receivers, 2 guys, over $20 million. The Bears are one of them, right?
5 teams,
Moore, and then you look at who they just traded for in Keenan Allen. 5 teams in the NFL have done that. Man, that is a lot of salary cap dedicated at one position. I get it, because a lot of teams run what we call 11 personnel. There's going to be 3 wide receivers out on the field, but I think at some point, maybe after Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, that there is going to be a market correction at this position moving forward, in my opinion.
How can you pay CeeDee Lamb over $35 million when you're paying Dak Prescott over $50 million? You're going to have 2 guys eating up such a significant amount of their salary cap, and then you got Micah Parsons waiting in the wings for his deal. It's going to be, like Jim said, there's got to be a market correction or else. And then you think about, if there is no market correction, you think in 2 and 4 years about the Bears. With DJ Moore coming up, this scenario with Keenan Allen, and then when Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze are up in 4 years, what is the market commitment going to be then?
It's a very fair question. Very fair question. Now, running backs are making a third on average of a wide receiver. I mean, that market corrected, obviously. But boy, that is some interesting stuff right there, if you ask me. Does it matter to you guys that Lamar Jackson missed more than 80% of offseason workouts for the Ravens? Gave up a $750,000 bonus in addition.
Yeah, I'm somewhat surprised, that he would do that. It's only his second year into the system of the Todd Monken, him taking over as offensive coordinator. And, I think we know how he finished the season. It wasn't a great game against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So I am somewhat surprised. Again, it's voluntary. I know he's a veteran now, but he's by no means is a finished product. So I was somewhat shocked about that, because no other guy in the AFC North. And to me, that's the best division in football. I mean, you look at between Cincinnati and Joe Burrow, now what the Steelers have added, and the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Deshaun Watson has to really be consistent this year, but that's a difficult division, and I would have thought he would have been there more than that. And I'm sure they would have liked him to be there more than that. But, of course, John Harbaugh, coaches play nice now. They say, it's voluntary. They don't have to be here. But I guarantee internally, John Harbaugh, his blood is boiling, quite frankly.
When they get rid of OTAs, we won't even have these discussions anymore. You're not going to have the chance to make a $750,000 bonus for showing up unless you show up in the weight room. That used to be the requirements to earn off-season bonuses back in the days. And so, NFL fans and all this, changing of schedules, once you get rid of OTAs, we won't have to have this discussion anymore.
And then a shout out to Tariq Cohen, the former Bear, gets a 1-year deal last week with the Jets. Has not played in the league since 2020. Was with the Carolina Panthers, trying to attempt another comeback. I root for the guy. He was always a great kid to work with here in Chicago. His love of the game this is what he wanted, was to be an NFL player, and he was so excited to be a Bear. And unfortunately, a severe injury and the subsequent surgeries that followed have really derailed that dream a little bit here. But somebody's giving him a carrot, and I hope it happens for him, guys.
So do I. I
Yeah.
wish all the best for Tree Cohen, because he was a guy that, you didn't know if he was going to make it when he came into the league, just given his size. And then he impressed everybody. And I hope he has the equal amount of success he had here in Chicago.
Yeah, and really Robert Saleh talked about it. Why did they add him? Because of the new kickoff return rule. That's where he's going to be a weapon. I mean, Saleh and his staff, I guess, ran a study. They expect that there could be over 100 kick returns this year, say for the New York Jets. And Tariq Cohen has been known to be a very explosive player, and it's unfortunate what happened to him as a Chicago Bear, because he has big play potential, and I hope he's 100% healthy so we can see that on display again.
Absolutely. Well, fellas, that's going to do it for us. Special thanks to Special Teams Coordinator Richard Hightower. For Tom Thayer and Jim Miller, I'm Jeff Joniak, the executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. Thanks, Dan Brilli, Jordan Tredup, and Sean Graney. Coming up next, Bleck and Abdallah. This has been Bears Weekly, ESPN Chicago, and the Bears Radio Network. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Apple Podcasts, Bet Rivers, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite.